Regular Show left more of an impact on Cartoon Network than a ton of other stuff, and for good reason too. The characters were fun to watch, while the absolutely insane storylines never got old. In January 2017, the series finale aired on the channel, and it was bittersweet. Taking place 25 years after the ultimate battle between Pops and Anti-Pops, we get to see a massive park reunion with all our heroes grown up, except for Skips, cause, you know, he's immortal and all that. Everyone we've followed since the beginning of Regular Show has grown in one way or another, and they feel like one big family that you just want to be a part of. Now, shortly after this reunion, it was time for the curtains to close, and the audiences had to wave goodbye to Mordecai and Rigby forever. The end. Or so we thought! You see, there's a legit Regular Show continuation that exists right now, but people aren't talking about it for one major reason. It's not the kind of sequel series you'd expect. Regular Show 25 years later concludes Mordecai and Rigby's story not through an episode, but through comics. Yeah, it may not be as exciting as a fully animated and voiced TV show, but at least it's better than nothing. 25 years later is split into several different volumes, which then changed into 6 parts once the entire book was released. The cover depicts the park gang in their classic golf cart, ready for adventure. The designs here aren't the same though, because they've grown up and they're excited for whatever comes next. But even if almost 3 decades have passed since we last saw these guys, at heart, they're still the same dudes who go on fun adventures. Anyway, this is promoted as the official continuation of Regular Show, so you know what that means, right? It's time to take a deeper look inside 25 years later, if it's worth checking out after the events of the original cartoon, and if we should even consider it canon. Let's get into it. Everything starts off with Rigby telling a story about one of his crazy adventures with Mordecai. Just another day in the life for these two. He's revealing it to some family members at the park reunion, and yeah, everyone is here. But if you couldn't tell the exact time this takes place, check out this panel on the 3rd page. Man, I can't believe it's been 25 years. Yeah, I wish Pops could have been here to see this. Well, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have this. If the scene looks familiar, then that's because it's the exact same as what appeared in a regular epic final battle. It's meant to reveal that this takes place directly after that park reunion scene, so this is kinda cool. The true storyline begins when Benson gives the boys a simple task: grab some ice cubes for the party. It's the type of mission reminiscent of classic Regular Show episodes because it starts out so simple but spirals out of control. Mordecai and Rigby go on the search for ice, eventually coming across an alley that only appears at a specific time. One event leads to another, they don't have enough money for ice, and whoa, they meet the Fairy King, also known as Viceroy Albrecht. After Mordecai and Rigby make a passing comment about how their old adventures were fun and they'd want their youth back, the Fairy King turns it into a reality. The next morning, these guys are young again, with a twist that they lost their kids. Uh-oh! What follows is the major storyline of 25 years later, that they have to save the day and do whatever the Fairy King tells of them. To save their own kids, our heroes set out to redeem Trables, son of the Fairy King, and of course, do the same thing with his daughter Portusha. Mordecai and Rigby need to teach them values about growing up and lessons for being a better person. Just doing that isn't as easy as it sounds, because the Regular Show hijinks you know and love makes a return. The situation with Trables eventually leads to a time loop thanks to this orb. This idea actually came from a short when the gang was in space, and yeah, it gets a lot more of a focus here. Now, when the story shifts over to Portusha, there's a neat video game aesthetic involved, which helps in remaining faithful to these characters, as well as just giving us some fun art to look at. Anyway, the final chapter takes a very dark turn. It's revealed that Albrecht just wanted to take over the world, and he had no intention of setting things right. There's an all-out war, a rebellion, tons more action, and you can read it yourself if you want all the details. Let's talk about what 25 years later manages to achieve, and if it should be considered an official sequel. So, alright, the good news is that this does feel like Regular Show. Mordecai, Rigby, and the rest of the gang are pretty much written how they would be in the series. There weren't a ton of moments where I just stopped reading and thought, wait, that character wouldn't do that, because this was nice. It also follows the same formula of having a simple task, and then things escalating up to 11 in no time at all. We go from trying to get ice cubes, to a king and his army taking over the world. Classic Regular Show. But if we're talking about what 25 years later does best, it's all the loose ends and misplaced potential from the series finale. Think about it, there wasn't a whole lot of screen time to explore this brand new status quo for the characters. What are Rigby and Eileen's kids like? What's Muscle Man doing these days? Who even is Mordecai's wife? Small questions like these didn't necessarily need answers in the finale, but diving deeper into these characters' future lives helps give them more development. Things have changed over the years, and so have the characters. Here's an example. So Travels, looks like you've made a friend. Thank you, I have. I'm really grateful for that. It can be tough to make friends as an adult. You know who else has a tough time making friends as an adult? My mom! I miss her. Oh dang, sorry man. It's okay. So Muscle Man's mom passed away? That's actually kinda sad. It's a small change, don't get me wrong, but we all know a major part of his character is that joke, and now it takes on an entirely different meaning. The rest of the park gang aren't going through the same lives they once were, and 25 years later makes that abundantly clear. One of the loose ends from the finale was Margaret. For someone who played a major role as Mordecai's love interest, you'd think the spotlight would shine on her a bit more than it already has, but I guess there just wasn't enough time in the finale. This comic finally brings her back. Not only that, but I loved the little conflict with Steph, who if you didn't know is Mordecai's wife. Seeing them talk to each other like this is a story that could only happen when everyone's an adult, so it was a fresh take from the Cartoon Arc series. Also, Steph just randomly appeared in the final few scenes and had no time to develop as a character. Luckily, she has enough speaking lines here that you can get a feel for who she is and her relationships with others. It's something special you'd never be able to get during the ending montage, thanks to limited time. 25 years later also brought up some real lessons about growing up and the longing for a return to youth. Mordecai and Rigby face more than a few challenges here, but the biggest one of all lies in their new life. They want more than anything to go back in time to the golden days and have adventures left and right, but to do that, they'd have to give up their families. They'd much rather look forward to the future and go through the natural course of life. If you ask me, it's a sign of great character development. Now, let's talk about one of the major questions surrounding this comic sequel. Is it canon? Do these events legitimately happen to the park gang and their families, or should everything be dismissed as mere fanfiction that doesn't connect to the series? Well, the truth is that there's no right answer. Considering this takes place after the park reunion, there's nothing to contradict what happened here. J.J. Quintel may not have taken part in creating this, but he also hasn't dismissed it as unofficial. I mean, it is licensed by Cartoon Arc, so that should say something, right? The writing is done by a guy named Christopher Hastings, who doesn't seem like he's worked on regular shows since he mainly just makes comics. Still, he had a pretty big part in a few of Cartoon Arc's official Adventure Time volumes, so at the very least, he's more than familiar with these types of fictional worlds. I think he manages to replicate regular show in a way that makes it believable, so at least you can rest easy knowing it's not a terrible continuation. But at the end of the day, this being canon or not is really dependent upon the reader. You can see the comic as one last bonus adventure that maybe takes place in an alternate universe and maybe happens for real, but that didn't take away from my enjoyment. The fact of the matter is that if you had fun watching regular show, there's a pretty good chance you'll be interested in 25 years later. What would it be like if Mordecai and Rigby were adults and had kids? How have their perspectives on the world changed since they stopped going on so many wild adventures? The detailed answers are here, and you can choose whether to accept them or not. I just feel like anyone craving more regular show content should be happy with what this offers. But what are your thoughts on the continuation? Are you gonna check it out sometime? Let's talk in the comments! But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.